Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think at first I was like, oh, maybe we could do like the bone structure of my right arm, and stemming from an accident, which is just having issues now from working, and 20 years later. But and then when you asked me, I was like, oh, I don't know.
I think you picked the thing you needed. And, usually there's a level at which, given the choice, your vital force will choose to work at the deepest level relevant to the issue. So this was very obviously very much a power issue and a sacral or a solar plexus chakra issue. And I'm sure that it relates to like the situation you talked about giving you stress in ways that are probably obvious to you, but I think it's just really important to really helpful to allow you to go to that deepest level to do the work, because that's how real healing comes about. That's how I'm able to work with people on serious illness and get results. Not by addressing the illness, but by addressing the very deep pattern. I mean, that truly is what works. It's not a woo-woo ideal. It's a thing. So I love what happened there. I thank you so much for opening yourself to this process and sharing it with people, sharing it with whoever is going to end up watching this at whatever time. I think it was really powerful. Wow, nice demonstration. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, but see,
service. I just, I mean, I take whatever opportunity presents itself, and I'm like, oh, there's a way for me to deepen something and understand. Yeah, I'll volunteer.
Yeah, that's a great attitude. Do you have any other reflections about it, and the process, and like what you're feeling? And if you don't have a lot of words right now, that's okay too. I understand.
Yeah, at first I thought that shadow was an entity, was like something, but I realized like, oh, that was just me.
Yeah.
Another aspect that came in from another lifetime that was just like very protective, and dark, and like something very traumatic happened. I don't know. It just was like being dumped over the side of a boat. Like that. I think that was me being dumped over.
I caught that. Yeah.
I was like, okay, and just
Sharmila, do you know how big you were when you were dumped over the side of a boat? Because I've actually had a past life memory of being dumped out of a boat, but I was very small.
It seemed like I was a big guy.
You're a big guy, okay. So yeah. In my past life, it was infanticide, but this was different. This was another story. Yeah. Okay. Just checking. It was just curious. Now we know something. We both share that we've been dumped out of boats.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
Very interesting to be at that, to be witness to that. Like, because it was from my perspective of that person, and just like seeing the water, and like I was like on top of the water, and it was moving, and there was somebody rowing, and then just
splash.
Yeah, splash. I'm like, oh, look at all these. all these like ferns and stuff down here. Yeah. It was, I think it was like I must have been like paralyzed or something, because there was just like no fear. It was just like, okay, this is happening. There was just no narrative of emotions. It was emotionless. It was just witnessing it, but witnessing as a first person that happening. So, and then, just the various ways of it seeming like it released, like with the pink, I was like, oh, this is great. And then I was like, oh no, wait, there's something here covering. It was like a figure hunched over covering it, and then there was this like fairy like tapping, like, hey. You know?
Yeah. That's really cool. So yeah, there's different ways to look at this work from a healing perspective, or I mean, I would call it a past life healing. And I do have those pop up. It doesn't happen in every journey, but it does happen in some people's journeys, spontaneous past life healing. And another thing is that I think my perspective on spirit attachments is that it is you. And I know that this is pretty controversial, and I'm also not married to my theory, because spirit attachments, I don't disbelieve in them, and I believe that it mirrors your own susceptibility. So one could look at that and say it's a spirit attachment, but you went a step further, and which I do also, this is how I see it, is it is you protecting, because there's a reason for the spirit attachment. Like nothing happens without meeting us, like a susceptibility or a need in ourselves. So I think that the higher, from one level you could look at it and call it a spirit attachment, and maybe in sort of a deeper level you say, oh, that was me protecting myself. So there's that shifting perspective on what is a spirit attachment, but I think there is you could call that a release of a spirit attachment, even though it's part of you. So just to point out some of the shamanic correlations there. Yeah. So and then I think what I wanted to just add about it is, like, I want people to notice that you entirely, like, how open that was for you to create something, so that it was really your, I wasn't leading you, in other words, and I didn't know how the healing, I didn't need to know how the healing was going to come about. I just needed to hold the space and keep you in that space. So, and keep trusting the process so that the release could happen. I didn't have to go in there and like pull that thing off. You didn't have to. We didn't have, it was just, it's what wanted to happen when we held the space from a perspective of unconditional love. I mean, sometimes I do have people kind of talk with the aspects, especially if there's some kind of stuckness, but you weren't experiencing any stuckness. Everything was ready to happen, and you were ready to allow it.
That's what was so surprising. I was like, oh, okay. And I just bringing the focus back to whatever knew what was happening. And it was, so you would just chime in like, oh, what's happening now? And like all these things would happen. I'm like, okay, well, let's see.
Yeah.
Where do I start? Which was, I wasn't going to bring up the whole boat thing or like, seeing the water. And,
I'm glad you did, because
I was just like, what the? I was like, I don't know. And I was like, no, just trust the process and just describe everything that's happening.
Yeah. And even that you trusted yourself to talk about that bathroom and I mean, I think a lot of people would say, if they weren't so used to this process, might say, well, come back to the get your focus back kind of thing. Come back. But actually you were right where you needed to be. And somehow the emotion, that's really where the emotion, you're able to connect with emotion in a way, because something shifted when you talked about that bathroom. And it seems so unimportant, but it was totally like talking about that bathroom allowed the healing. How weird is that? And how elegant, you know?
I know, and it was so funny because yeah, it just the most mundane detail.
Yeah.
And just remembering, you know, like when I had visited my friend in that house at her place, and like going to the, you know, going to the restroom and using her bathroom, and just like, and just I just remember being at a big party before she had moved in, when these other people moved in that I know.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, because it was at night, so at least they'd see the light on, but still, it's just like, you know, if someone's, you know, inebriated,
Yeah,
they're gonna
come right in.
right in.
Yeah.
It never happened to me, but yeah, so that was very interesting, the security.
But your sensitivity, it showed your sensitivity, the fact that you were even though it didn't happen to you, you were thinking about it. Other people might use that bathroom and honestly not really think about it. But you had that sensitivity there. Yeah.
Yeah.
For a reason.
They had kids too.
Mm-hmm.
They had kids. And the other thing was, it was a big property, and it's, you know, it's a funky little small town. So people would have like trailers and campers. So there were other people using that bathroom.
Right. Anything could happen.
Yeah. So that's, you know, so it wasn't just a private bathroom for one.
Yeah. No, it was really a beautiful, it was the perfect symbol for something that you needed to shift.
I know.
Yeah.
And then the freedom of no security. I was like, what? Okay. But that, it just really I don't know, it just liberated something, that the energy is just, I could just feel it expanding in my body, and like, wow, this is so, it's liberating to like, oh, there really is no security.
Yeah, you just stepped out of and like an egoic need for security that is illusion anyway, when you think about it. And so I think that will be life-changing.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
So what I'm curious about is, so after somebody is, so I could have come to you with anything, like,
yes,
you know, usually it's some body issue, like you, especially you work with autism spectrum. I know you've worked with autoimmune.
Yeah.
And anything like that could have happened. And then, but then it's not just one, you know, there's like more follow-up, and then there's other,
oh yeah.
How does that work, and how do the remedies, like what remedy would that, or would I even need a remedy now?
You might, I mean, a lot's going to happen without a remedy, but a remedy can enhance this process and kind of deepen and help root and stabilize it. So there can be continued healing from this point, from where we got to, with the remedy. Just to blow your mind for a second, I mean, what I would do is I would go and study your case, and you would have filled out this big case history with all your, like your whole medical history, and also we would, you know, at some point we would be having a conversation, you know, about what's going on with you physically that you're working with, or it could be an emotional issue. It doesn't have to be physical, or it could be a
Oops. I think her feed went out. I don't know what happened. We're still live filming.